Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Priscilla Wolf. A bail hearing began today in Yorkton, Saskatchewan for two sisters from the Quewezance First Nation. Odjick and Narissa Quewezance have been in custody since 1994 when they were sentenced. They were found guilty in the killing of a local farmer. The sisters say they were wrongfully convicted and the federal justice minister has ordered a review of their case. APTN's Tamara Pimentel reports the two are hoping to get out on bail.
Oh my God, sister. Oh, my sister. I'm gonna bring you some.
Odjick Quewezance wears a ribbon skirt and her sister Narissa in shackles as the two meet outside the Yorkton courthouse for a 2-day bail hearing, which would allow them to be released from jail while a review of their case is underway.
I feel good inside my heart. I feel like me and my sister are gonna finally get the justice we deserve after how many 30 years. So I'm feeling a lot of feelings today, and it's been a tough go for me.
In 1994, the sisters were convicted of second-degree murder in the 1993 death of farmer Anthony Dolph near Kamsack, Saskatchewan. It's a crime their cousin confessed to. Since then, they asked the courts to be free on court-ordered conditions. Their case has been sent for review because the Minister of Justice says a miscarriage of justice may have happened. As Narissa stepped out of the police vehicle, she met their nephew, Jesse Straightnose, for the first time since being incarcerated nearly 30 years ago.
When this first all began, I was only like 3 or 4 years old. And if they do get out and stuff like that, I really hope they can cope with everything out in this world. Like the same. I know it's not going to happen in 1 day or 2 days or 3 days. It's not going to happen in those days, but we're all willing to help my aunties and stick by their sides.
Vice President of the Congress of Aboriginal People, Kim Bodin, is advocating for the sisters. He hopes to see them get bail soon.
I didn't actually think it would take this long, but then on the other hand, in terms of the way the justice system works in Canada, in terms of Indigenous people, how it impacts Indigenous people, it's more, we call it it's justice system. It's not a justice system for our people at all.
And criminal justice advocate Nicole Porter says she's done a forensic analysis for the sisters.
I've reviewed every file that existed in the forensic analysis, and I've reviewed the trial transcripts. I've reviewed everything. There was no physical evidence, and we had a confession at the time, and we had a confession on national TV years later. Why they've been there so long is beyond me. It's beyond all of the advocates involved, and it's been 30 years. It's time. It's beyond time that they get to go home.
For Odjick, who's on day parole, she says she hopes for a positive outcome this week that will bring their family back together.
I'm a strong believer in my prayers and in my culture and the support that I have with all my lawyers and my team. So I'm nervous, but I feel strong in my heart.
Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Yorkton.
Our APTN web reporter Danielle Parody has been in court today listening to the bail hearing. She joins us now from Yorkton. Danielle, you spoke with the sisters before the trial and at lunch today. What is their perception of the hearing so far?
For the sisters, this has been a very difficult time. There's been a lot of very personal information that they've had to discuss while they're up at the witness box, including their history of incarceration, courses that they've taken, as well as times when they've been lawfully at large, or parole hearings, or any troubles with addiction or mental health that they've uncovered. So it's always a difficult day, and both sisters have expressed to me that it's a difficult time, but that they're staying strong.
Right. So what more was discussed during questioning in the bail hearing today?
During the hearing, we're hearing a lot about what kind of conditions the sisters will have if they're out. So we've heard from Odelia's husband, Jay Cook, talking about home life and what sort of supports will be for them, as well as for Narissa, who has the support of FSIN through Ali Bear, as well as Kim Bowden, who is with the Aboriginal People's Congress and has actually offered to have Narissa live with him should she be released on bail.
Okay, interesting. Now, one of the surprises today was that Odelia was talking about her living conditions. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, so Odelia is at a halfway house in Regina, and she has said that she's been witnessing drug overdoses, deaths, that there's a lot of alcoholism and drug use near her. So as somebody who has a past struggle with addiction, that's a very challenging environment for her. She says it is not quite as supportive as a healing lodge that she was previously in, and that she is finding herself struggling, but that she sees the light ahead of the tunnel, and she's very interested in staying strong so that she can be out.
Okay. Now, will there be a decision this week?
There will not be a decision this week. The judge has let us know early on that he is going to be on vacation starting Friday, and so he's going to be putting this decision in reserve. So we're going to expect to wait 6 to 8 weeks for a decision.
Okay, well, thank you for the update, and thanks for talking to us today.
Thank you.
A court appearance is set for today for the man and woman facing murder charges in the shooting death of an Ontario provincial police officer. Constable Greg Pershala was shot while responding to a call near Hagerville on December 27th. Police say the 28-year-old Pershala was ambushed and had no chance to defend himself. 25-year-old Randall McKenzie and 30-year-old Brandy Stewart Sperry each face a charge of first-degree murder in Pershala's death. McKenzie is said to be from the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation. We have an update for you now on a story we brought you last week. Dwight Whitehead went missing outside a hotel in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan on New Year's Eve. Yesterday, city police were called to a wooded area on the west side of the city of Prince Albert after someone found a body. Police have confirmed that it is Dwight Whitehead. He was reported missing on January 8th. According to the police, Whitehead's death is not considered suspicious. Preliminary findings were released today from the ground-penetrating radar search of the St. Mary's residential school site in Kenora, Ontario. 171 anomalies were found which could be unmarked graves. The St. Mary's Survivors Project started the search in 2020 with a ceremony on the site. The next steps are to search other areas of the school site and discuss the findings with special interlocutor Kim Murray. Federal Ministers Mark Miller and Patty Hadju and Ontario Indigenous Affairs Minister Greg Rickford. In a written statement, Rickford's office called the discovery heartbreaking and said that Ontario stands shoulder to shoulder with the families of students who went to St. Mary's. We want to hear what you think about the stories that you just watched. Here's how to continue the conversation. Send us your emails to aptn.ca, leave a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. This week, the BC Natural Resources Forum is taking place in northern British Columbia. Government, First Nations, and a wide range of industries are expected to gather and discuss economic opportunities. The 20th anniversary of the forum is being hosted in Prince George. Mining, forestry, and energy are a few sectors featured in the event. First Nation leaders will speak and be a part of panel discussions. Decarbonization, Indigenous partnerships, and attracting investments are key topics. Chief Darlene Logan of Clayton First Nation says all parties need to work together.
Especially now that the Indigenous role has become more prominent. So now we were the stewards of our lands, and we're taking control back, and it's time for industry, the government, all to realize that It's no more free for all. Now we're taking control, and it's time for all of us to get together and work together.
Time for a break, but here's what we're working on. We will tell you what we are doing or what they're doing in Kahnawake to make improvements.
You know, we don't have the Indian agent. We're not pawns of the federal government. We don't take direction from the federal government. You know, this is real community governance at its core.
Welcome back. Kahnawake is looking to bridge the divide between its band council and longhouses. The Kahnawake Governance Project seeks to teach community members about their history so they can participate in the revitalization of their nation. Amelia Fournier explains how.
If you want to get a drink, it's on us.
In Kahnawake, you can get a coffee with a side of history. Gerald Tayayage Alfred has been holding info sessions at Totema's Cafe for Kahnawake residents about the history of Kanien'kehá:ka governance.
There's a 14-year-old king, and there's like 12 Frenchmen here. And yet they're giving us our land.
A renowned expert on the topic, he's now the project coordinator for the Kahnawake Governance Project.
We have a problem in the community, which is that we don't have a unified way for people to make decisions. We don't have a unified system of selecting leaders and so forth. And so what we're trying to do in this project is give Kahnawake Ron, one of the people of the community, a chance to discuss this, to learn about their history, and to vision forward beyond this system where we have a divided set of institutions to one where they can work together.
The project is in the education phase, so community members can later have informed discussions about their vision for a future government. Many residents of Kahnawake want to return to traditional longhouse government with a clan system and consensus-based decision-making. Right now, the community's funds and services are managed by the Mohawk Council of Kahnawake, or MCK. It's the elected band council system imposed during the Indian Act.
The people who see the long-term vision of colonization and decolonization as rooted in spirituality and cultural revival and so forth, they tend to focus on the longhouse. The people that see helping the people deal with colonization in a practical sense tend to focus on the MCK because they're meeting everyday needs.
Finding common ground has been difficult in the past. That's where Community Engagement Coordinator Linda Delorier comes in.
I think it's really hard for people to be vulnerable, given the history that we have. And I think that's the missing ingredient for building trust. And so we're looking for ways to provide people the opportunity to do that safely, regardless of where they come from.
That's what brings the people together, one mind, one body, one heart.
Elder Kevin Deere, a traditionalist, is on the Elder Advisory Board for the Kahnawake Governance Project.
Heck, they talk about Mohawks going all over, building Manhattan, building Chicago, building San Francisco, building bridges. Why can't we build our nation?
Deere says the community has needed a blueprint for a new government for decades.
There was a community meeting where a majority of the people said, well, let's go back to a traditional government. But what does that actually mean? Does it mean that we're going to all come back to the longhouse, that we're going to have condole chiefs, clan mothers, and everything functioning according to the protocols of the longhouse? Me, personally, I'd like to say, yeah, that's how it will be, but I'm only one person. The community will decide what they think that is.
He says coming from a place of non-judgment is part of the process of returning back to their roots.
We inherited all of this mess, and we can't be coming from this position of us against them.
Despite Deere's traditionalist attitude, he's supportive of his daughter, the Grand Chief of Kahnawake. Gus Inahawe Sky Deere says MCK is providing the funding, but taking a hands-off approach to the project.
I'm very much open to what the community says and how we're going to move towards something if they're not happy with, the system that we have today. But I think a lot of people don't understand the way this system has evolved over time. We don't have the Indian agent. We're not pawns of the federal government. We don't take direction from the federal government. This is real community governance at its core.
Alfred also says that consensus is something that is ingrained in everybody in Kahnawake, including band council officials.
The idea that you can't just have 50% plus one, and that you can't just, have an administrative tribunal that makes a decision and moves forward, that there needs to be work that goes into hearing all voices, considering all voices, and then taking the best option that most of the people support while still respecting those that have a divergent opinion. That's the way Kahnawake is run.
Delorier hopes this project will ultimately unify Kahnawake.
We're all coming up from a place of trauma from colonization, hundreds and hundreds of years of all of the effects of colonization. And so there's a place where there's a need to heal.
The next phase will involve community consultations and debates with the hopes of a new government framework in place by 2024. Emilia Fournier, APTN National News, Kahnawake.
Time for another break, but just ahead, a special unveiling for NAG happened today.
The dream I've had for over 30 years now is finally coming to fruition. It's a proud day for me, and there's more proud days to come.
Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Today's photo comes from Kona Williams. She captured this interesting shot of what she says is tracks in the snow of a small animal and then a big imprint of a bird of prey. Thank you for sharing, Kona. If you want to be featured as our photo of the day, email your shots to share@aptn.ca. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Let's start out east. -1 in Charlottetown and +1 in Fredericton. -5 in Happy Valley Goose Bay, 0 in Cartwright. -1 in Quebec City and 1 in Montreal. +5 in Toronto and +2 in London. It is -2 in Elliott Lake and -7 in Timmins. -9 in Norway House and -9 in Thompson. It is -7 in Winnipeg and -8 in Brandon. In Saskatchewan, it is -2 in Swift Current and -6 in North Battleford. -6 in Stony Rapids and -8 in La Ronge. -10 in Grand Prairie and -3 in Fort McMurray. +1 in Medicine Hat and +4 in Lethbridge. +8 in Vancouver, +7 in Victoria. +2 in Smithers and +5 in Prince Rupert. -10 in Dawson and -15 in Beaver Creek. -6 in Yellowknife and -11 in Fort Simpson. It is -21 in Fort McPherson. It is -15 in Will Cove and -12 in Baker Lake. -34 in Igloolik and -34 in Arctic Bay. The hockey world lost a legend when former Vancouver Canuck Gino Odjick passed away over this weekend. And as APTN's Tina House explains, fans of the NHL veteran from the Quewezance First Nation in Quebec will remember him forever.
Gino Odjick was known on the ice as the Algonquin assassin. His role as an enforcer for the Vancouver Canucks was legendary. But off the ice, Gino was a gentle giant. He was a kind and generous person who was very proud of his heritage. Many who knew him say, always with a big smile when he met you, and usually a joke to share, he was approachable and always encouraged others to reach for their dreams.
Words can't express of what he's done to our community here in Musqueam, and I think for all across the province and across the country, his leadership and dedication to Indigenous people goes without words.
In 2014, he was diagnosed with a rare heart disease called amyloidosis. APTN was there when hundreds of his fans gathered outside of the hospital to give him their support. His close friend Peter Leach says Gino fought hard while dealing with his illness.
He displayed a lot of courage, a lot of strength. You know, it took a lot of courage to go through what he did, you know, with all his medical stuff, and you know, that's what it is to me. I mean, he's a true warrior. I mean, took courage to fight what he fought in the last 9 years. I mean, he was supposed to have been, you know, passed away in 2014. He lived 9 more years, so we've got to be grateful for that.
Kirk McLean is a former teammate.
I did not know number 29 was in honor of his father, and the number that he was given in the residential schools, and that, you know, that really got me right in the heart. And that's Gino, right? That's the type of person he was, and just kind of kept that to himself until, you know, whatever, a couple months ago when he was inducted into the BC Sports Hall of Fame.
Gino played for 12 seasons in the NHL from 1990 to 2002. For 8 years, he played for the Vancouver Canucks, and then the New York Islanders, Philadelphia Flyers, and Montreal Canadiens. But while with the Canucks, there is no question that he developed a close friendship with hockey star Pavel Bure. Back in 2003, APTN shot an event honoring Pavel, where Gino addressed the crowd.
I'm real happy Pavel made it here. I know in 1993-94, when I scored 16 goals, I know there was a lot of Russian in me. But in the playoffs, when Pavel knocked out Shane Sherlock cold, there was a lot of Indian in him.
Another former teammate, Jeff Courtnell, says Gino made a huge impact on everyone.
Coming here and seeing him battle the way he battled, compete the way he did, and want to score and win the way he did, it was so great to watch him develop.
Here at the BC Sports Hall of Fame, Gino Odjick's jersey, along with other memorabilia, is proudly displayed. He'll forever be remembered as one of the greatest NHL players in Canadian history. Gino Odjick was just 52 when he passed away. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
The North American Indigenous Games are just 6 months away. They'll be held in Nova Scotia this July, and preparations are well underway. Today, the medals that the athletes will compete for were officially unveiled. They were designed by youth Ella Scawthorne and finalized by Mi'kmaq artist Taylor Fern Paul. The designs incorporate Mi'kmaq symbols, including an 8-pointed star. Tex Marshall, the president of the 2023 NAIG Host Society, said that the young artist's work is a testament to how strong Mi'kmaq people are.
I believe that this artwork and these medals are a true reflection of the spirit of us as Undu Mi'kmaq. And I'm so proud that we're here today to celebrate these medals that will be awarded to the medal winners at the Games in July. And the dream I've had for over 30 years now is finally coming to fruition. It's a proud day for me, and there's more proud days to come.
The special interlocutor on unmarked graves and missing children is our guest on an all-new episode of Face to Face tonight, right after the news. Kimberly Murray also spent 5 years as the executive director of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada. She's very disappointed that many of the TRC's calls to action have not been acted on.
I remember that day when the announcement came about the Kamloops, the grounds of the Kamloops Indian Residential School, and feeling that sadness and that grief and that loss and feeling for the communities. And then I quickly became angered. Just thinking about, here we are 7 years, well, back then it was 6 years later, and none of the calls to action, 71 through 76, had been implemented. None of them.
Well, that's your show for tonight. I'm Priscilla Wolf. See you here tomorrow. Have a good evening.